Hello, STEMAZINGKids. So this week we are going to make some STEM toys, and as we're in December, I thought it would be cool to do some Christmas themed STEM toys that are looking at how we use forces to make things move. Okay, so let's go through first of all what we need for today's session. You should have a template which has got some outlines of some Christmas figures. You'll need some scissors, you'll need a balloon, you'll need 2 straws, and ideally ones that are bendy straws, some colouring pens and pencils, Pritt stick, sellotape, a drawing pin, one that you'll put in a notice board like that, so be careful with that, obviously, pointy sharp end, some beads that will fit string through them if you have them. If not, it's not the end of the world, but if you've got those, it's great. String, about 1 meter of string. And I think that's everything we need. I said colouring pens, didn't I? So first of all, we're going to take our template. And the reason why I've printed these only on one side is because I want us to be able to fold this to make the paper double thickness, so it's a little bit more stiff. So we'll flip it over and fold it along its vertical axis like that, so that you've got a tall, thin looking card shape like that. So you fold that right in the middle, and hopefully you've got then your bits on that side which are not folded. Okay, and then we'll open it up again, and just to make that secure down, take your Pritt stick and just Pritt stick on one side so that you get that sticking down. Put a few blobs there. There we go. And then stick that down. Fold that back over and stick it down. And then smooth it down like that. So then this should feel a bit more stiff than just a single thickness of paper. And then what we're going to do, the first one we're going to do is forces with Father Christmas. So we'll just cut out just the Father Christmas side. We'll keep Rudolph for later. And so with Father Christmas now, what we'll do is, if you get your pens and pencils and you colour him in, be creative with your different colours, and then we will cut round the outside of Father Christmas. So to begin with, I'm just going to like colour him in. Obviously, Father Christmas needs to have a lot of red on him. I don't actually know what colour Father Christmas's sleigh is. I should know that. Maybe I'll make that. I think it might be sort of red and gold. I'm going to do red. And you can spend as long as you want doing this colouring in. And then you can always pause this video if you want to take longer. And then what colour should I do some of these presents? I'm going to do this one, nice bright green colour. Green bow on this one. I think sacks would be orange, or maybe they'd be a browny colour. So you colour yours in whatever colours you like. I'm going to do Father Christmas's belt purple. And I'm just going to do some purple lines on there and a purple bow. So that'll do for now. If you want to do some more colouring in, you can pause this and finish colouring. But for now, I'm going to then cut around the outside of this template. Now, the cutting doesn't have to be perfect. This is quite an intricate template here. So I'm just going to roughly cut around the outside. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but you can take your time over it if you want. And again, feel free to pause this and do some really super cutting out. Always being careful with the scissors. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to create kind of like an old-fashioned STEM toy using string, where Father Christmas will fly up the string and then come back down the string again. So we're going to get Father Christmas to fly up and come down without touching him. Okay, so on the back of Father Christmas now, we're going to turn him over because we're going to put 2 bits of straw. So if you've got your straw, cut about, say, 4 or 5 centimetres along and another bit there. So you've got 2 short bits of straw that you want to use, like this. So cut 2 lengths of straw, and then you want the straw, this is the straws together parallel. That means parallel when they're next to each other in straight lines like that. And whatever direction you want Father Christmas to travel, that's the direction you want to put the straws in. So if you want Father Christmas to literally go straight up like that, then you need to have the straws straight like that. If you wanted Father Christmas to maybe go a bit of an angle like that as he travels up, then you need to put the straws slightly, you would put them straight to the ground as Father Christmas is on a bit of an angle. So I'll let you decide what you do. I think I'm just going to let Father Christmas go straight up and down. So on the back of Father Christmas, I'm going to put my straws parallel like that. And then you need a bit of sellotape to stick these straws down. And try and keep them parallel to each other. Okay. So now you should have 2 straws like that on the back of Father Christmas. Then we want to get our string. So if you find your string and about 1 meter long of string, and we're going to take one end of the string and thread it from the top. So if this is the top of Father Christmas, so the top down to the bottom. And a little trick, if you just lick the end of the string, then it's easier to thread through. So just thread one end of the string through the straw like that, out to the other end, and then do the same. Try not to make sure there's no knots in the string, and then do the same with the other end of the string. Poke that through the straw. That's it. Thread it through until it comes out the other end like that. Okay. And then with these ends, we want to get our beads. And I've got these cool little Christmassy looking star beads. And so the string will fit through the bead there. So thread that through. And then at the end here, I want to tie a knot so that the string can't come back out through the bead. And I just need to check whether that knot is big enough. No, that knot's actually not big enough. I'm going to have to do a double knot because that would have still escaped through that bead otherwise. But now I've got a double knot there. That is nice and secure. And that means that that bead and that bit of string can't now escape back up the straw. Then we're going to do the same on the other side. Get your bead, thread the straw through the bead. And then once it's threaded through, see if you can tie a knot in the end, or if that's quite difficult, maybe you could get a grown-up to tie the knot in the end for you. And I have to do a double knot because my bead has got quite a big hole in it. There we go. Double knot there. And then what we're going to do here, the way this is going to work is that when this is this end of the string where you've got, you should be able to see the top of that is a loop. So if you can see that, and as I pick it up, all right, there's Father Christmas hanging down the bottom. That's what it looks like. And then with this top bit here, we want to hook that over something. So you could hook it over a door handle or hook it over, if you've got little knobs on your kitchen cupboards, you could hook it over that. And because I'm going to try and show you here, hooking over this top of the chair. You need anything you can hook it over. And then what we're going to do is we're not going to touch the paper, but we want Father Christmas to travel up. So we're going to pull bits of string either side when Father Christmas travels up, and then put the strings back parallel, and Father Christmas should come down again. So pull, so if you can see, pulling the string either side. Father Christmas travels all the way up, put the strings together, and he falls down. So why do you think that's happening? Well, when you put the string to one side, you can see that the string edge touches the edge of the straw there. And as you're pulling it that way, it's creating a force pushing up on the edge of that straw. And because you're doing it on both sides, it means that Father Christmas then travels up the string without you touching the paper. It's the string that is pushing a force that is going up there. And then when you bring the strings back together again, there's no force pushing on the straw. So it just allows it to fall back down under gravity. So there you go, a very simple STEM Christmas toy, the kind of toys they probably would have played with in the olden days, even way beyond my years, so I'm not that old. And that is Forces with Father Christmas. Okay, so you can hang that somewhere and you can show everyone how clever you are using forces to make a piece of paper rise up without actually touching it with your hands. Okay, so that's the first one we're going to do today. The second STEM toy we're going to do is called Round and Round Reindeer. So for this one, we cut out our other, we've got the other half of the template that we cut out. So with this one, Rudolph, we're going to colour Rudolph in. Now, I've tested this earlier, and actually, do you remember before we talked about when something is big and it's heavier, it means it's harder to move, you need a bigger force. So we're actually going to make Rudolph as small as we can. So I actually want you only to do his face. So don't worry about his scarf and his body, just do his face only, all right? Because we actually want this to be as light as possible for our next STEM toy. So colouring Rudolph, now obviously he's going to have a red nose, isn't he? And then colour in the rest of Rudolph. I don't actually have brown, so I'm going to have to use orange. You can make Rudolph rainbow coloured if you want. Do whatever colours you like. And so again, once you've coloured Rudolph in, then we're going to cut round the outside of Rudolph. Now, I'm actually going to give Rudolph purple reindeer horns. There we go. So you can do whatever colouring you like. And then, so like I said, only bother with his face because actually we want him to be as light as possible. And if I thought about it, I could have maybe made this printout even smaller. Maybe next time you could actually just draw your own picture and cut your own picture out and see what difference that makes, depending on the size. Okay, so we're going to cut out Rudolph's face now. So sorry about that, Rudolph. You can't have your scarf or body anymore. You're just going to be a head, but that makes you lighter. And we're going to use a different force for this next STEM toy to make Rudolph go round and round. And if you remember doing the balloon rocket car, we used our breath as a sort of exhaust gas to fire out one way, which made the car move the other way. And it's very similar what we're doing with this toy. We're going to be using our balloon, and the balloon is going to push air one way, and then Rudolph is going to spin the other way. And he's going to spin because we're going to we're going to create a pivot in the middle of our straw, and the pivot is then going to be the point where this Rudolph spins around. Right, so now you've got your Rudolph. The next thing we need is our straw. So put Rudolph to one side for now and get your bendy straw. So it has to be a bendy straw because you want to try and create a right angle with the bended bit of the straw there. Because what we're going to do is air is going to come out this way and it's going to push that. So when air comes out that way, it pushes that way. So try and get that as a right angle as you can. And then we're going to take our balloon, and just like we did with our balloon rocket cars, we're going to put the straw inside the balloon so that the straw, this end of the straw, goes down into the big bit of the balloon. And then we need to seal this. So we want to wrap that around the straw like that, and then try and sellotape around there so that the air doesn't escape when you blow into it. Get a bit of sellotape and wrap it around there. And try and make sure that you've sealed that if possible. And then we'll do a test to see if that works. All right, seal around there. Okay, and then blow into it. Yes, okay, so there's just air coming out the end and not out of that bit where I put sellotape on. So if you can hear air coming out around there, you might need to put another bit of sellotape on to try and secure that. Okay, so now we've got, this is actually going to be the thing that propels round, and also it acts a bit like a seesaw, this. So we want to get your drawing pin, and this is going to be our pivot point. You want to try and find, so there's the end of the straw there, and that's the bendy bit. So about halfway between the end of the straw there and the bendy bit, try and find about halfway, and you want to push your drawing pin through, so carefully find that point and push it through your straw so that it comes out the other side carefully. So you should be able to carefully do that and push it down so that you've got that in the middle there, okay? And then you should be able to twist that and it should be able to move quite freely. And then we want to put Rudolph on. So Rudolph wants to be facing in the opposite direction to the straw. So I'm going to take Rudolph and I'm going to put him on the straw so that the bendy bit of the straw is facing in the opposite direction, so that when our breath goes out that way, it pushes Rudolph that way. Okay, so if you put Rudolph face down on the table, and then your straw with the point with the bendy bit straight up, and then get a bit of sellotape and put that on there. I try and only use one bit of sellotape because, like I said before, having this as light as possible means it will go round because it will be faster. And then we obviously need to secure this pivot point onto something, and that's what I think I forgot to say at the beginning. We want a pencil which has got a rubber on the end. If you don't have a pencil with a rubber, you could use a cork like out of a wine bottle. I'm sure there might be a few wine bottles around this time of year. So if you haven't got a pencil with a rubber in the end, you can use a cork, and then you want to push that carefully, that pin down into the rubber. Don't squish it all the way down, because obviously then that will create too much friction and stop it moving. So you just want to have a bit of space in there so that it's free to move. So just test that it's free to move. See if that's got enough. Yeah, it's not enough. There's not a lot of friction there, so that should be okay. So now we can test this one. So we're going to blow in. There we go. And round and round and round he goes. Excellent. Try again. Round and round he goes. And so you can probably work out what's happening here, can't you? You're filling up the balloon, and then as the balloon lets the air out, the air is coming out that way. And do you remember Newton's laws of motion? Isaac Newton, who created, well, he basically came up with all the laws of motion that define how things move. So something needs a force to be able to move. And when you get an action coming out of here, it creates an equal and opposite reaction. And that creates the force on something to move around. So that's what we're doing here. We're creating a force with our breath coming out this way, which is pushing Rudolph round and round that way. And if you find that yours isn't moving, or it's not moving very quickly, have a think about why. It's Could be because it's heavy, so how could you make it lighter? Make Rudolph smaller. It could be at the pivot point where this is pivoting around the middle, maybe there's too much friction there. So you can see if my straw is touching either the pin or the rubber, then that's going to create some friction. So you want to try and make sure that there's no friction in there. The other thing is if it's in an angle, so maybe it's like when you're sitting on a seesaw and you're sitting on with someone who's really heavy, so they go down and you go up. Because they're heavy, if they came in towards the center and you leant out, then you'd even the seesaw up. So you need to change this effectively where that middle pivot point is. So you might need to move the pivot point if your seesaw bit here is not balanced, so that you try and make it not be leaning one way or the other. You want to try and have it quite balanced, because again, if it's leaning, it's going to be rubbing on one side, which will create the friction, which will stop it moving. So there we go. So we've got our round and round reindeer STEM toy and our Flying Father Christmas with Forces STEM toy. And so you could try different types of designs for these. You could even try like a super long bit of string and see how long string that would work for you. You could try making this as light as possible and see if you can get it to go around even faster. And if you kind of reduce as much friction as you can in the middle there by making the hole slightly bigger, and once this has been used quite a few times, you'll probably make that hole a little bit bigger, a little bit easier to use. So then it should go around really fast after that. So there we go. So there's some fun STEM toys you can play with over the Christmas holidays. And just remember that you can always be curious, ask questions, you can be creative, you can use your own designs, and you can be courageous, because when things don't work, think about what could I tweak, what could I try again to see if I can make it work better. So there we go. You've got those to play with as well, and maybe your brothers and sisters, if you've got them, want to play with them as well. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye, everyone.